What's up, niggas? Heard you niggas like wrestling. Word. Alright, that's right. What's good, my peoples? It's your boy, Big Chris, Compton Animator, and I'm here to give you another review. And today we're going to talk about WWE RAW, October 7th, 2013. And I would say this is a somewhat above average show. Just let's get into it. We start off with Stephanie McMahon coming to the ring, and she was basically, explaining about what happened last night at the Battlegrounds pay-per-view, and telling everybody, it's not her fault, it's not Triple H's fault, it's all Brad Maddox and Big Show, and most definitely Big Show that fucked this up, and it was. I think that part was kind of cool. Then the Big Show came out, or she told the Big Show to come out, and then basically he came out, and she was basically berating him, saying a gang of shit to him and stuff like that, saying this is your fault and all that stuff, and asking him why he did this, and he was saying that it was because she told him to, and because he got angry, and that's the reason why he knocked out Daniel Bryan and knocked out Randy Orton. And then she was telling him that he needs to apologize and beg and shit. And he basically just said, "Fuck it, I'm not doing none of this shit," And she fired him, slapped him up a few times, been slapping the shit out of him too, and made him leave the ring. This was a pretty cool part. I don't think Stephanie was, too bad here. She's not that great of an actor, or actress, but she has her moments, and I think this was one of them. I think she did a pretty chill job, and Big Show was pretty fine here as well. So it was a pretty nice way to open up the show and explained a lot of the things that happened last night, and kind of gave an explanation of everything. Next, we had Dolph Ziggler versus Damien Sandow, and a pretty cool match right here. This is a rematch from last night's Battlegrounds pay-per-view kickoff show, and the last night's match was, it was okay, but this one I thought it was pretty fine. It was a better match. Damien Sandow actually came to the ring with, something to prove. He was, he didn't cut a promo. He was angry. He wasn't his usual, selfish, uppish self, trying to act like he's better than everybody. He came to the ring angry, tied his briefcase up to the ropes, and then got in the ring pissed. And it really showed. He dominated through most of the match. And I really like how, he played this here. Even, sometimes, sorry about the dog, people. This motherfucker pisses me off too. I wish I could kill that little nigga. But, I love dogs, but that shit is getting me pissed off. But, Damien Sandow came to the ring, and, he did exactly what he needed to do. Sometimes I don't like when a wrestler would dominate a whole match because it slows down the match. But, him yelling at Dolph Ziggler, yelling at the crowds, really helped this match out. And then having Dolph Ziggler come back and, do his thing in order to get the win was really nice. Dolph Ziggler came out with the win, and hopefully this means they're pushing Dolph Ziggler to something more. And, we'll get to see where he goes from here. Next, we had a Divas match with Rosa Mendez, Alicia Fox, Oksana versus Natalya, and making their in-ring debut, Eva Marie and JoJo. This was a pretty piss poor match. So even for a Divas match, it was piss poor. If it wasn't for Natalya and Alicia Fox, this would have even been worse. Eva Marie, JoJo, who are basically newbies in their first match ever, versus two girls who don't really do anything at all, Oksana and Rosa Mendez. Spent a cool amount of time, especially Eva Marie. She spent a cool amount of time in a match, and didn't do shit but rest holds and kicks and hits and shit like that. JoJo never got in ring. If it wasn't for Alicia Fox, who came in and was beating up on Eva Marie, actually doing slams and moves and stuff like that, or Natalya, who finished the match with Alicia Fox, this match would have been horrible. So it ended as below average instead of it was pretty bad. It would have been, horrible if those two girls weren't in it, Alicia Fox and Natalya. After that, Okay, Natalia and her team won, the two new bitches in her. But after that, Stephanie and told Brett Modest that he needs to apologize and go tell everybody about this new thing that was going to happen. So Brad Maddox comes outside and he tells everybody that there's going to be a special guest referee at Hell in a Cell, and we was getting a chance to vote for him, and we had to pick between I think it was the first came out was Booker T, and he came out and cut a promo how what if you pick him, he thinks he's the best and stuff like that, and then they'll suggest the other ones later on the night. So after that was Los Matadors versus 3MB, and instead of the two that they've been facing, they faced Jinder Mahal and what's the boy's name? Let's see what his name is. Well, it's one of the other motherfuckers in 3, but they'll say it right here. But Los Matadors end up winning this, and it was a pretty okay match. I'm getting tired of watching them fight 3MB. It's been 2 times in a row, and they're not getting any crowd pop because they're new. We know it's Epico and Primo, but they're new in the character. You got to have them face more than this one set of guys. But the best part of the match was Heath Slater chasing a little bull around the ring, and that was after the match too. So and the bull does a hurricanrana on Heath. I think it's a hurricanrana, but either it was a spinning hurricanrana or spinning leg scissors or some shit like that on Heath Slater, and that was a pretty cool little segment. But nothing really else besides that. Next, we came in. Paul Heyman was in the ring with Curtis Axel and what's his name, Ryback, and they cut a promo on that Punk isn't worth shit. Basically, that's basically what they were saying, that he needed to cheat in order to win, and CM Punk came out and said, he's even now, and Paul Heyman cheated, now he cheated, and doesn't matter where he fights Ryback, if it's now, later, he just wants to fight him. And R-Truth came out, and they didn't really say anything out loud, but he was like, hey, fuck it, let's go fight right now. So it was a tag team match with CM Punk and R-Truth versus Curtis Axel and Ryback. This was an okay match. While it really got no crowd pop while R-Truth, Ryback, and Curtis Axel were in the ring. When it was those 3 in the ring only, the crowd was basically silent. CM Punk had to hype the crowd up on why he was on the outside of the ring, waiting to be tagged in. So they were doing okay in the ring, but there was nothing exciting to that part. Once CM Punk got in the ring and did his stuff, that's when everything started to pop, and CM Punk and R-Truth ended up coming out with the win, with R-Truth pinning Curtis Axel. So it was an okay match, not a lot to it, not a lot of crowd pop to it. The only thing people were seeming to care about was CM Punk. My one issue with this match is Ryback. I'm liking Ryback, but when he's in these matches, he needs to act like an asshole. He needs to act, dangerous. He needs to do shit that makes the crowd pissed off. If he throws somebody on the outside of the ring, I want him to get in somebody's face and yell at him. We need to hate Ryback. And right now, his character is getting close, but, while he's doing promos, he does it. When he's in the ring, he's still, not cutting what he needs to do. So, he needs to get more furious in that ring. What was it? After that, they announced the second person that you can choose for was Bob Backlund, who came out and cut a retarded promo. I don't know why the fuck they brought Bob Backlund out here. That dude is, oh my god. I mean, he was okay back then when he was wrestling, but, as a wrestler, that's what his, shit is. But on the mic, especially nowadays, he just does not cut it. Next, we had Randy Orton versus Kofi Kingston. Another okay match. It wasn't nothing big to this match. We got to see a little bit of the furious side of Randy Orton here. Orton comes out with the win, but the best thing about this segment was after the match when Daniel Bryan basically ran out and was beating the shit out of Randy Orton, attacking him, doing a whole segment of that part, and, just beating him up. They had to bring out the refs, and other backstage guys to get the Daniel Bryan off of Randy Orton, which that was a pretty cool segment right there, and I think it builds a lot up in a short amount of time that they have to Hell in a Cell, to building up the character and just saying, fuck the talking, we're fighting now. So hopefully it's this type of stuff that's in the next few weeks, with them just going at each other out of anywhere. I just wanted them a camera be on backstage and they're at craft service and Daniel Bryan attacks Randy Orton at craft service. I want to see that type of shit. So yeah, this is a pretty cool segment. Next we had, okay, I like this. Vicky Guerrero, I think she was on the phone or something backstage, but she was standing backstage and Alberto Del Rio walks past her, and he's basically, telling her, I don't really care who's my opponent right now for Hell in a Cell. It can be anybody, and he was basically putting the moves on her, telling her how much she's cute and stuff like that, and how she's a good boss lady and shit. So, that was pretty fun. I think Del Rio, when he plays the charismatic Hispanic dude, when he plays it as a, douchebag, Hispanic, Mexican, aristocrat, he's really great at that. I want him to play more of that when he's hitting on your girl and shit. That's the Del Rio I want to see, and he did that right there, and it was pretty good. And it was leading to him coming out to it was announced that he was going to fight what's the boy's name, Ricardo Rodriguez, and he was about to have a match. But before he can get the match, Vicky Guerrero announced that Alberto Del Rio will be facing John Cena at Hell in a Cell. So this, is a big shock to him and a big shock to us as well. And while he's standing there shocked, Ricardo Rodriguez rolls him up for the pin. And after that, he basically just proceeds to beat the shit out of Ricardo like always. Ricardo was standing on top of the announcer's table and he knocks him off of there, then puts him in the arm bar with a chair on his arm, was stomping on the chair while it was on his arm and shit. But this is really a surprising thing to happen. We were thinking John Cena was going to be out for longer. They said 4 to 6 weeks that he was going to be out of this injury, and it turns out it's only going to be 2 months probably plus. He's only been out for 2 pay-per-views length of time, so I think it'll be 3 months probably at the time. But he healed up quick. Tell you the truth, I like this because they needed another face to face Del Rio. They weren't going to use Ziggler for some odd fucking reason, so they needed somebody. And if they bring John Cena back at the pay-per-view, don't do anything else but bring him back at the pay-per-view, I think this can be really cool. Find a way to cut promos and stuff without him being there, and do all that stuff, and this would be cool. So yeah, that was a pretty good announcement and a pretty good beatdown by Del Rio. Next we had a match with Ziggler versus Fandango, and what do you say? Ziggler versus Fandango, and Fandango comes out with the win. This is basically a filler match to proceed on to what's going to happen next. I think it was either before a few of these matches or not, but Shawn Michaels was announced to be the third person in the special guest referee, contention. And he came out and cut a nice little funny promo, called himself HB Shizzle. So yeah, he was pretty funny with that. But after the Fandango match, Jerry the King Lawler got up and he announced who was going to be the special guest referee by the fans' votes, and it was Shawn Michaels. That was pretty good. Booker T, he was kind of pissed, I guess, and he walked in front of the camera and left quick. So yeah, that was funny. But yeah, Shawn Michaels still got it, man. That dude is still funny to watch, and he's really good at the referee and stuff. When he does the special guest referee stuff, he does it right down his line and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm excited to see him at the match. Next was the Real Americans versus Santino and Great Khali. The Real Americans won. That's all I need to say. Antonio Cesaro did the big swing on Great Khali again. Then he did it on Hornswoggle. Big swings are cool, yeah, but there's nothing to that match. It's just filler. Okay. Next we had The Miz come out, and he was going to cut some type of promo or something like that. But before he can even talk, Bray Wyatt's music hits, and then Bray Wyatt comes out and basically looks at the Miz, and like the Miz runs down. No, wait. Before he runs down, he comes out, sits down in his chair, and just basically looks at the Miz, blows out his lantern, and in the ring already is the Wyatt family, and they get ready to rush Miz, but he runs out the ring and starts running up the thing and attacks Bray Wyatt, and like I think like after he attacks Bray Wyatt is like holding on to the Wyatt family, and he does that little thing that he does where he looks, behind him like he's a fucking exorcist type shit, and he just basically looks at the Miz and says, "You're next," and stuff like that. So I like this a lot. They needed a direction for Bray Wyatt to go. I hate the Miz, but as a face against somebody like Bray Wyatt, I think we can get something out of this. The Miz isn't a horrible face, but for people who aren't into the whole reality guy and into his character, I could see them having fun with this. Bray Wyatt's a good character, and the Miz isn't horrible. If they do exactly what they need to do, this can be really good. So yeah, I really like this segment. I really like what it can lead up to, and I'm happy they did something at this week instead of waiting to the last minute with this Bray Wyatt stuff. So last we have The Shield versus Cody Rhodes, Goldust, and Daniel Bryan, with Triple H sitting out not a commentary, but at the commentary's desk with no headphones on. And pretty good match here. A lot of cool little spots. Daniel Bryan didn't really get into the match until the end, but Cody and Goldust did their thing in this match. They're two good ring workers, and did a lot of good stuff. Cody Rhodes was getting beat up for a minute and tagged in Daniel Bryan, the hot tag, and he came in and did his stuff. What ends up happening is Daniel Bryan's putting the crossface, or not the crossface, it's called the label lock or the yes lock on Seth Rollins, I think, and what happens? Oh, so he's putting a yes lock on Seth Rollins, and I think it's Dean Ambrose came in with a chair, and they got disqualified. I think he hit Cody Rhodes with the chair, and they end up getting disqualified. So Triple H grabs the mic and basically says, "This, we're not going to end this way. I'm tired of these non-finishes. This is going to be a no DQ match." So they all start brawling and stuff like that. Daniel Bryan and I think Seth Rollins in the ring is brawling, and then the four people on the outside are brawling. And when Daniel Bryan goes for the dive onto the Shield and then gets up, Randy Orton pops out of the crowd, and he hits an RKO. I think he hit an RKO or something on Daniel Bryan and threw him back in the ring, and Daniel Bryan got pinned. And then they started beating up Daniel Bryan and stuff, and Big Show comes out. So before I even talk about that, yeah, that part where Triple H did all that, and then Randy Orton come out of nowhere slithering basically, and doing that was pretty cool. I like the match was pretty okay, and that end part of the match was really nice. It kept the flow up, and it kept moving the story along as well, with both guys getting a hit on each other in the same night. So Big Show comes out, and he walks to the ring, and Triple H gets in the ring, and it's like, "Fuck it, come on, dude, come on, you're not supposed to be here, leave," and shit. And Big Show starts walking to the ring, and Triple H starts hiding behind the Shield. So Big Show gets in the ring, and the Shield just starts fucking him up. And he defends off the Shield, and then he defends off Triple H, and ends up knocking Triple H out. And the show ends with Daniel Bryan standing over Triple H, doing a yes chance, and Big Show walking away smiling. So this is a pretty cool end to the show. The stuff going towards the main event was the nicest thing. Seeing Shawn Michaels win the chance, the opportunity to be the guest referee at Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton's match was good. Then also seeing Bray Wyatt looking like he's going to be facing the Miz was nice, and the whole finish of this match plus the match itself was pretty good, and everything with Big Show and the McMahon Hemsley thing regime. Well, Big Show versus the Corporation stuff was good. Also Damian Sandow versus Dolph Ziggler was pretty cool, and even the Del Rio stuff was good. The only problem here is that the show kind of felt lengthy, and you felt the time here. You felt those 3 hours, and yeah, man, it was a pretty okay to a little bit above average night. It wasn't that usual great show that we get off after the pay-per-views, but it's whatever. So let me know what you think about my review, what you think about the Raw shows. I like to talk about WWE, so hit me up. Like the review, dislike it if you want. I really doesn't matter to me. Just enjoy my work. So this your boy Big Chris Compton Animator. You can find me anywhere by that name, and I'll catch you peoples later. Y'all have a good night. Peace.